Well, let me welcome Representative Moffett and Representative Murner as substitutes for the day. And I think the Democrats are down one, but you have no substitute. So that's the way it goes. So please rise and join me in the pledge. The flag is over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Comment to the committee. Recently, we did took an action that that was not legal to take, and that was the last bill that we decided was going to be an interim study bill and had an amendment on it. So we voted it interim study as amended. I got a conversation with the clerk. It's not legal to do that. So what he did is he just stripped off the amendment. So, way it goes. Live and learn. All right, today we're going to...
Mr. Chair, what number, can you tell us the bill number, please, if you don't mind?
I can't right now, but I can get it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Today, the first bill we're going to take up today is Senate Bill 329. So let me ask Representative Tripp, do you have a motion?
I move inexpedient to legislate. Sorry. I move Senate Bill 329 ought to pass.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay. Representative Power seconds. Would you like to talk to your motion, or you don't have to, but
well, this bill establishes a commission to study barriers to housing development in New Hampshire, including workforce and middle income housing. I think this is something that is warranted because we've been going through this workforce housing and affordable housing for several years. And if the commission could yield some light on what we're doing wrong and not providing the adequate housing for the state of New Hampshire, I think it'd be a great step forward. Thank you.
So this is a bill to establish a study committee to look into these things that Representative Tripp just talked about. Representative Piemonte, do you have an amendment?
I do. It is Amendment 2022-1828H.
Mr. Chair, I have a procedural question.
Yes, go ahead.
Aren't we supposed to adopt the amendments first before we pass OTP?
We haven't heard the amendment all the way through yet.
No, I understand, but we had a motion for OTP,
right.
So isn't the
done,
other way around?
I understand what you're saying. It can be done either way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the bill. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Oh, a second. All right, second. Representative Lascelles is a second. Yes, Representative Ron.
I'm confused because Representative Tripp, when he made the motion for ought to pass, he spoke about the need to study our housing crisis, specific as it is to workforce housing. And yet I look at this amendment and it has to do with the municipal budget law. So I consider this non-germane to the bill. perhaps Representative Piemonte can explain why he considers this germane.
I-
To me,
I-
it has
I'll-
nothing
I'll-
to
I'll
do with
take-
housing.
I'll take that. The motion is germane because we've already discussed this on the House floor, and that brings it into the germane category. This is passed on the House floor. Yeah.
Then another question I have, how would this impact the committee? Because I also have an amendment that follows our discussion at the public hearing.
That's up to your chairman.
Yeah, okay. Well, I hope my amendment can be introduced.
Any other discussion? Yes, Representative Majapudi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little confused in terms of the procedure and to follow up with my colleague who mentioned about the non-germane part of it. This whole amendment replaces not the study, but replaces it with the municipal budget. So I'm having a hard time reconciling the fact that this, the whole,
You're having trouble with it being germane?
not so much yes, Jermaine, and also what Representative Tripp talked about, the ought to pass is to study the housing crisis and barriers. And the amendment turns the bill on its head and talks about the municipal budget. So how does this relate to the underlying budget is my question.
You want to take that?
Yeah, I can take them. That was combined as, oh, sorry. That was combined as one amendment. I attached the bill, which was, I think, 1393, was it? Let's see. Yes, I attached 1393 to an amendment that, this amendment, which is 1828H. There were some other changes on the amendment. One, I added on line 8, section 4, I added after middle income housing, I add manufacturing housing and 3D printed houses. I don't know if anybody's familiar with those, but they're we're looking for ways to create housing in New Hampshire, okay? And these two were not included in the original bill or the bills pertaining to these, the subject of housing beforehand. And it makes housing very affordable. And you can go on to YouTube if you want to look it up. It tells exactly how the 3D housing works. And the manufactured housing wasn't mentioned on there because they build these in the factory or whatever it is, and they don't come to the site where they're gonna put them together. They just put them together, and the houses go up, and they're very affordable. So I thought that was important also.
Hey, Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe I'm just dumb or it's early, but it looks to me as though this amendment replaces the bill.
No, it doesn't replace
The
it.
language says replacing it with.
You want to reply to that?
No. It doesn't. Because I was very specific with OLS with this. Actually, the bill 1393, it's like we get bills from the Senate sometimes with things added on, and this particular one was put on. I just wanted to give it a little extra help in handling the bill.
So where is the bill that it's amending? It appears that it is replacing the bill.
No, because this amendment will be added to 329 when we bring up the ought to pass motion.
I guess I wish it said that. because it's not clear to me that that's the case from this amendment.
Well, we just,
Is it more clear now? Representative Tripp.
I believe if you go to line 11 of the amendment, you'll see that it says to amend the bill by replacing all after section 2. Section 2 of the bill is repeal 674:61A, blah, blah, blah. So after section 2, it effectively replaces section 3.
Okay. Representative Mangiapudi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following up with my colleague on the other side, Representative Stavis, if I'm looking at the underlying bill and the second section is the core of the bill, the members of the commission shall be as follows. And this amendment replaces that. And so there's no commission if the underlying bill is replaced. So basically, then the bill becomes the municipal budget law bill. So I am still not able to understand, other than just say commission established, and next second section is members of the commission, and that's it being replaced by municipal budget law. So how is this the same bill and addressing the housing? That's the question that has not been answered to
Got
me.
it. Representative Power.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It appears to me that this amendment 1828 does two things. The first thing that it does is it goes into section 1 of the underlying bill, and under Roman numeral 4, it replaces that section with the it replaces the entirety of Roman numeral 4 under section 1, and it keeps what is in the underlying bill, and it's simply adding the studying middle income housing, manufactured housing, and the 3D. So that's the first thing it does. And then the second thing that this amendment does is after section 2, which is on page 2 of the original bill, it's adding a section 3. So line 6 of the amendment may appear to be worded not clearly, but I believe that my explanation should clarify what this amendment does. Thank you.
Further discussion? Yes, Representative Mangiapudi.
So by creating this Christmas tree bill, since we'll have housing and a tax cap, which I am going to oppose, what we have done is we have eliminated the people. I appreciate the explanation and don't accept it. What we have done is we have eliminated the clarity for who is going to be on the commission to study barriers to housing. That's the way I read this bill as we try to fit it in there. And if we'd had a public hearing on this, which we haven't on this section in this bill, we might have been able to understand it a little bit better, but we're trying to digest this right now. So I will be recommending that that we vote no on this amendment and no on the bill. Thank you.
Further discussion? Yes, Representative Brown.
And I have to say, I'm very disappointed because at the public hearing, Senator Perkins Quokka brought forth some changes that she wanted to the bill. She wanted to add somebody from the Office of Planning and Development, and then during our discussion during the public hearing, we brought up the fact that it would be important that the representative from the House was a member of this committee. Because we're more well-versed in issues regarding housing. And then also that we would add somebody from a local planning board, because most of the impediments to workforce housing are decisions that are made at that local level. And those, to me, are very important components to add to this commission to really address the problem that the bill is trying to address. With this amendment, it takes all of that away, and I think it's a slap in the face to everybody that came to the public hearing that has a sincere interest in addressing public housing, workforce housing. And just kind of trashing the bill to get in this municipal budget law, to me is very disingenuous, and I think it undermines the integrity that this committee should exhibit. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Yes, Representative Davis.
Representative Piemonte mentioned manufactured housing and
3D.
3D housing. Can you point out to me where that is in your amendment?
Yes. On section 4, commission shall study barriers to housing development in New Hampshire,
Line 9.
line 9, including workforce and middle-income housing, manufactured housing, and 3D printed housings.
And follow up, Mr. Chair, thank you, I missed that. And I actually agree with that. I think that's a good idea. But I'm still puzzled, and maybe I'm just being really dense this morning. Where's the commission?
The commission is still in effect.
Who's on the commission?
That's why, to me, that was very important, because those two items were not brought up before in any of the housing bills, okay? And I felt that was an important issue to bring up, because, you know, we're talking about housing that's, now the big thing is people can't get housing. It's too pricey. It's not affordable. There's that, and there's some other ways that you know, can have affordable housing for, I'll give you an example. In Sandown, we have a over 55 housing, and the houses that they put up were very minimal. They had a slab, they had I think it was a 2-bedroom, 1-car garage or a 2-car garage, and they were put together in a very nice way that people felt comfortable. That was another issue or topic that was not brought up during any other commissions before that. So that type of housing, that's called affordable housing in my estimation. It also has a ring where, you know, builders or developers could put these houses up along with the 3D and the manufactured housing for reasonable cost. I mean, very reasonable cost. And I was talking with one of the building inspectors that has a knowledge of this, and from what they can gather, you know, you're talking maybe 200,000 or something like that, and you get a house with a land on it, that type of thing. If you use 3D housing, it'll be even less expensive than that. So that's something that they need to look into, I think, and that's why I did that.
Representative Davis? Gilman, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, I think Representative Power did go through this. The amendment, which we just saw today, really begins on what was the original bill, number 2, at line 1, number 2. Adds all of the information about the budget caps, and then changes the effective date. I have to say that I am disappointed that these two subjects have gone together. It was unexpected, and I will be voting against the amendment and then against the motion to approve it.
Representative Van.
Thank you, Chairman. Two things, one of which is the commission is still there. I think the confusion is happening because on line 8 and 9 of Representative Piemonte's amendment, lines 8 and 9 replace or make a change to line 22 and 23. So all of this upper section, containing all the information about who's going to serve on the commission is all still there. However, I would agree that I'm extremely unhappy with this addition of the tax cap language to this bill. I don't think it's germane. I think it's a bad plan to glom it onto here. I think we all are in agreement about the necessity to do something with housing. And I'm really unhappy that we have glommed these two things together. And no, I cannot vote for this amendment.
Representative Gallagher.
So, one further, one further question about the germaneness of the amendment in question. The determination, um, the determination you stated as to why this bill or why this amendment counts as germane, is that something that the speaker and the clerk could confirm for us?
The question about whether a bill is germane is that eventually goes to the speaker and the clerk if it hasn't already. In this particular case, the way it was explained to me, because I had the same question as I previewed what we were going to be attacking today from a document standpoint, and I asked the same question, and the answer is that since this was discussed on the floor in this session recently, that it is automatically germane.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have a question. This bill has not come to the House floor. It was discussed at the Senate. So this is the Senate bill that has come to the House. So it was not discussed. It hasn't gone to the House floor. So I'm kind of confused with your statement about the has come to the House floor.
My understanding is, thank you, Representative Majapudi, that House Bill 1393 is where this was originally discussed, as it went when it was a House bill. And the Senate bill that we have in front of us is a child of that House bill.
Thank
and
you.
And it did pass in the House. Yes, Senator, Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to Section 3 of the amendment, the language in Section 3 did come before this committee, and there was a hearing, passed out of committee, ought to pass, went to the House floor, and passed the House. So therefore, my understanding is, due to those two provisions, that this is germane.
Thank you. Representative Gallagher.
So it seems to me if this amendment was discussed as an amendment to House Bill 1393 previously, this would make it germane to House Bill 1393 if we were discussing that again. But we're discussing Senate Bill 329 instead, and as far as I can see in the bill, in Senate Bill 329, it doesn't say anywhere in it this is a child of last session's House Bill 1393. So
I'm sorry.
I don't see how you can how you can connect the two of those when it doesn't explicitly say so itself in the bill.
Representative Piemonte has a correction.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I quoted the wrong bill. It's 1194. 1194 is the bill. That's House Bill 1194.
Representative Gallagher, thank you for your comment. Only thing I can tell you is that it was unsure to me also, and it was confirmed by the leadership and by the clerk that it was indeed germane. Yes, Representative Rung.
So if it passed this committee and if it passed the House, why are we adding it on to a Senate Housing Commission bill?
You want to take that?
Yeah. I just felt it was something else that had to be looked at, and I put it on that bill. So,
Representative Mangiuri.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when you have a multi-year expenditure, can somebody please explain how the community reconciles the only being able to use the first year payment of the bond, which is typically principal and not principal and interest, and how they reconcile future budgets after that, when you have to then include the full up all-in of the multi-year payment on the bond. Can you please explain that reconciliation for me? Thank you.
Only thing I can tell you is that this was reviewed whether or not it needed to go to the finance committee because of those questions like that, and the answer was no. So I know that doesn't answer your question, but those are the circumstances in which we find ourselves. Yes, go ahead.
So, thank you. I appreciate that. The question wasn't so much on whether or not this should be a second committee bill, but how a community has to reconcile that under Roman 3 sub A for warrant articles proposing bonds, notes, or other multi-year expenditures. Only the first year estimated cost shall be used in counting appropriations for the tax cap under paragraphs 1 and 1A. So I'm just concerned as a member of the select board and a former representative to the budget committee, how you reconcile those different appropriations that have to go into the budgeting, and if somebody had an answer to that. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't have a detailed answer for you. All I can say is that if this bill is passed, it carries that language with it, whether it's confusing or not. So it might depend on how you want to vote on the bill, on the amendment rather. Yes, Representative Mangiapudi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for letting me ask this question again. You know, it's a total confusion in my mind at this time. On one level, having served on a school board in a city, and you know the budget, how you reconcile the first to the second, zero budget, base budget kind of thing, it muddies the water for all municipalities. So instead of giving the municipalities a little more clarity in how to deal with this, we are making it even more muddy. So, I mean, I have a very hard time understanding it myself. So I wouldn't be able to support this because the underlying bill was very focused study on the housing issue. This muddies the water. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Piemonte?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for the question. We've all experienced these bills. I mean, we've got them from the Senate. They're omnibus. Representative Mangiaris mentioned Christmas tree bill, but you can attach any bill to anything like this as long as it's germane. And I did that because I wanted to take another look at it. Plus, in the additions I made to the commission, I thought would be an effective way to go. So we've all come across these things before, and this is nothing new. It's just that I decided to do it here.
Thank you. My understanding, if I may, is that in the execution of the town election, and quite often that means the annual meeting for smaller towns, or SB2 for larger towns, that there is a feeling among several legislators that not enough attention is being paid to the government expenditures at that local level. And one of the things, my understanding is that this bill is trying to do is to drive attention, more attention to examining just exactly what you're voting for at the local level, and to consider that. It's Representative Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And truthfully, I wasn't going to speak because it feels like this is a done deal, and it felt like it would be futile. But I have to say that the original bill, the underlying bill, I think it is a giant step forward. And Representative Piemonte's lines 8 through 9, changing section 4, I think is brilliant, and I appreciated him putting that forward. like many of my colleagues here, and I'm just kind of doing a me too here, and I don't mean it to be that way. But my concern of adding this takes a bill that I could have voted for and I felt would do a really good thing to put on something that's already passed, both 1194 and 1393, which deal with the school budget and so on. And when I look at the 1194 that did pass the House 183 to 146, it's basically verbatim. While I do appreciate what Representative Piamonte said, it's always good to take another look at it and to make sure that we are doing the right things. This particular bill has already passed. I think perhaps maybe next year, it would be good to put a commission that was very specific to this rather than trying to attach this. I don't personally have problems with omnibus bills if they're good, or Christmas tree bills, whatever anybody wants to call them. So I'm not complaining on the tag along type of thing. The issue I have is that we have a good bill, which is very helpful to the housing market. I think adding this is going to take away some of the votes. Personally, I voted against the 1194 on the House floor. So for me to accept this within this bill, that's something that's already passed, I never look at anybody's motive for doing anything, and please don't think that I'm doing that. My question, and I'm not even going to ask the why, I'm just going to make the comment of that I think it's unnecessary on a good bill to add something like this that creates controversy, and I'll leave it at that. So thank you very much for hearing me.
Let me also add that I didn't know that much about 3D printing at the construction level. And for those of you who are not all that familiar with it, I would encourage you to go online and look at either some of the commercial applications out there that allow you to use a search engine to find out about 3D printing that's actually houses being printed in concrete by a 3D machine, and it's really fascinating. And one of our thoughts is that this may be a way to accelerate housing in a less expensive way, and that we also understand this will probably take some special consideration by local planning boards and so forth, as this will be very different. I was very encouraged when I read it. I said, where did this 3D printing come from? And we researched it, and it's very interesting, and I think it could put a dent in our affordable housing. Yes, Representative Clayton.
I'm actually Representative Van.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Still Representative Van. This whole fine, put 3D printing on here, but I just want to assure people 3D printing is not going to save anything. When you look at how fast a team of 3 block masons can lay, and it prints a concrete shell is what it does. It prints a concrete shell. You still have to wire it, plumb it, finish the inside, put a roof on it, insulate from the inside. A team of 2 block masons can build that same shell in 4 days. I'm happy for people to look into 3D printing, but I just want to say that my understanding, and this is what I do day in and day out, is that 3D printing of housing is not going to save any of us. Anyway, and I still can't vote for this bill.
Yes, Representative Gallagher.
So yeah, I think 3D printing is interesting and possibly worth studying, but the thing is, the amendment doesn't just do that part. It also has the tax cap part. So, or what I'm wondering, perhaps since the clerk is here now, he can answer this. But under Robert's rules, there's a thing called a motion to divide the question. I'm wondering if the same thing exists under Mason's manual, or
Well, you got the right guy in the room right now to answer that question, but we'll let him finish his discussion.
okay. All right. Yeah, we can continue, or let Representative Manjaputi has her hands up so she can ask
ahead.
something while we're waiting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Gallagher, for yielding to me. This question is for the representative who has brought in the amendment. And Representative Piemonte, maybe you can explain, and see your intention of expanding the scope of the commission, which is the right thing to add more options for housing, which is fine. But we already have this bill that passed the House for municipal budget law. Would you reconsider so that we don't lose the good bill? Don't throw the baby with the bathwater. Word. So would you reconsider taking this, which is already passed the House, your part of your amendment, or divide it? Thank you.
The reason I put it in there was to give it a look at, another opportunity. You know, and I let it go with the bill. I'm keeping it the way it is. I guess I'm here, so,
Mr. Majori,
They were all before me. Thank you, but
Okay. Mr. LaSalvas.
I'd just like to go on the record to say that I'm not in favor of 3D printing babies.
Representative Majori?
I just like, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to point out that we had a bill in here about taking a second bite of the apple, having multiple people on multiple boards who get a second bite of the apple. So I object to this bill on the grounds that people don't like having a second bite of the apple. And I just wanted to raise that point. Thank you.
Representative Gilman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know that we've talked about House Bill 1194, which passed on the House floor, but this bill has already had a hearing in the Senate, and we have not had any public hearing on this amendment to the Senate bill. I'm sorry, House Bill 1194 is still on the Senate floor. So I guess my question is, well, never mind.
Representative Davis?
So as not to keep anyone in the dark, I did contact the clerk to ask him about the non-germaneness or not of this amendment. It was stated here earlier by the chair that the clerk had seen and approved the amendment. In fact, the clerk had never seen this amendment. And so he is now speaking with the chair about that. So I'd like to be on record as saying that was not true, what was said earlier.
Maybe he misspoke on that, but that was not a...
That was not true.
Yeah. Okay. You need to address that to Tom.
Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me for a minute. I'm going to confer with my. Thank you. Sorry about the delay. We got into a lengthy discussion with the clerk of the court about germane versus non-germane. It's a rather complex subject, but I believe we're okay now where we are with the bill. Was there a Representative Gallagher? Did you have an unanswered question you wanted to continue?
Yeah, or I was wondering if I could ask it of the clerk.
Well, I spoke to the clerk, and the rules we have for the House supersede Mason's rules. So if that's your question, which one takes precedence? It's the House rules.
Okay, so is there such a thing as a motion to divide the question or not then?
A motion to provide the question?
To divide the question.
Well, we're not entertaining any more motions right now. We're looking at the amendment to the bill. So that's what's before us. We can't add another motion to what's before us. Yes.
As I recall, Representative Tripp made a motion ought to pass on the bill. And then we had a motion to pass the amendment. Are we now considering two motions at the same time?
We're going to take up the amendment first.
But
And then we'll come back to the other motion to see if we want to do that as amended.
and that's perfectly fine to do it that way. Only because the clerk is here. It's perfectly fine to have two motions on the table at the same time without disposing of the First Amendment, which was ought to pass on the bill without amendment. Can I get clarity on that? May I get clarity on that?
I'm going to say that it's done both ways, where the amendments brought in first or the amendments brought in second, but they're essentially together, and that's where we are. We have a motion to okay to proceed and a additional motion to pass an amendment. Representative Power.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So perhaps Representative Tripp may have misspoke, but my understanding is that we're dealing with the ought to pass motion on the amendment.
No.
If there's some confusion, then perhaps Representative Tripp needs to withdraw his original motion on the bill ought to pass.
I call the question on the ought to pass motion on Senate Bill 329.
As made by Representative.
Damn it.
Any other further discussion? Okay, we're going to take a vote right now on the amendment.
You can't. You have to do the.
I'm sorry, on the base bill, and then we'll take up the amendment afterwards. No, I guess we're gonna take the amendment first.
No, wait a second. Wait a second.
Sure, please.
Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, you have to have a positive motion for an amendment to be considered. Typically, the motion is Representative Tripp moves ought to pass and offers amendment such and such. That is the correct motion. That is the correct way to state the proposition before you. Just to be clear, we do not move questions in committee. There is no motion to limit debate. The purpose of the committee is to dispose of everything. Specifically to Representative Gallagher's question about dividing, the whole purpose of executive session is to consider amendments as well. So if you decided that you liked a portion of the amendment but not another part, you would have a new amendment redrafted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, thank you. So Representative Tripp, would you like to withdraw your motion and make it again, make a new motion? More closely aligned with the clerk's recommendation.
I would like to withdraw my motion of OTP for the bill and substitute OTP of Senate Bill 329, and I'd like to offer up
With amendment, is that what you're
with
trying to say?
amendment. With amendment 2022 1828H.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
yes.
Thank you for taking my question. So we have the process in place right now, what we are doing. Isn't this the time that if there's any other amendment, is it not the time to also bring, whether we vote this down, up or down, and then the other amendments, or is it up to the chair to entertain or not free speech. Thank you.
That's a good question. The way we're gonna execute this is the amendment that's on the floor right now is the controlling document. If we, in discussion on this, in this executive committee, we can talk about that, hey, wait a minute, I have an amendment I want to offer too, and it does this and does that. That will allow the committee to consider that input. But right now, you can't make another motion, so we have multiple motions from multiple amendments at the same time. We'd have to defeat that first amendment and then offer another amendment if that's the direction of the committee. Yes, Representative Power?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a procedural question.
Sure.
So I understand that with regards to this bill, we have two amendments before us. We're dealing with Representative Piemonte's amendment currently. Only one.
We only deal with one
No.
at a time.
I understand one at a time.
We can discuss
I-
another amendment
Yeah,
as part of the overall discussion, but we can't make a motion.
I understand that. So Representative Rung also has an amendment. And my question is, are amendments stackable? No. Thank you.
Representative Brown?
Yes, I'm going to be voting against the ought to pass as with this amendment because we heard discussion at the public hearing about refining the members of the commission. At our last executive session, I brought to you an amendment that reflected that discussion, specifically having the representative be a member of this committee, specifically having a member of a local planning board, and also revising the date because in the original bill, the date was unrealistic. Since that, and Representative Piemonte was aware of that. He has that First Amendment. Since we went into recess of that executive session, Senator Kwanka's office sent me her amendment that she had presented at the public hearing, but we didn't have enough copies. And I incorporated her addition of someone from the Department of the member of the State Planning and Development. The drafting attorney with the Second Amendment adjusted the quorum to increase it by one since we were increasing the commission by one. My amendment today reflects public input, expert input. This committee has had the bulk of those changes for a week. So now to be an amendment where those improvements are not incorporated, new things are added, and then we have an attachment that has already been discussed in committee, already been voted in committee, already passed in the House, but we're adding it here so we can look at it a little more. To me, is very disingenuous, and I think it hurts the integrity of this committee, and I will be voting no. And it's sad because we really need to address workforce housing badly. Thank you.
Representative Davis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have always been proud to be a member of municipal and county government, and today I am not proud to be a member of this committee. I believe that we have violated our own procedural rules. I believe we have violated the rules of the House, and I believe we are violating the spirit of the bill that has been heard by the public and commented on by the public. I understand that technically, because the budget cap bill passed the House, that makes it germane. But no, I'm sorry, sir, it does not make it germane. It is non-germane in the philosophical and moral sense of being non-germane. And I would like to know who on this named commission in the underlying bill has expertise in municipal budgeting is going to take another bite at this apple.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? We have I think it's appropriate at this time. We have Representative Rung's amendment, her draft, and we have the one that is pending. Certainly willing to take discussion as to which one you want.
Can't do that. We gotta vote on the amendment.
Well, there is a motion on the floor, but we can, as per the clerk, we can discuss potentially other amendments.
Mr. Chairman?
Representative Majapudi?
Representative Van had her hands up before me.
Representative Van?
Yeah, she's not
Yeah,
in your
thank
purview.
you. I think that we are wedged because although we can take up amendments in order, in which case we would vote on the amendment on the floor right now, which adds the tax cap language, then we could take up Representative Rung's amendment, but that, I mean, I'm happy to do that because that takes the tax cap language out, but that would be the order in which we would do it. So the way I see it is you can either pass the amendment that has the tax cap language, which I think is a bad plan, or you can vote down that amendment, take up Representative Rung's amendment that makes changes to the composition of the commission and move on with a bill that's about the thing that it's supposed to be about. Thank you.
Yes, Representative Mangiapudi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to echo my colleague, this amendment that's on the floor right now changes the underlying bill by adding something that's already been passed. And if we really want to do the right thing and strengthen the bill that we all agree that needs to be done and has had the public hearing and has the input, I think it would be the best thing or best for the Granite Staters who we represent to vote this down and then take up or replace this amendment with Representative Rung's amendment, which is the 1757, not the first one that was here before us. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I think I'm ready to take oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you repeat for me what exactly is the motion? It's ought to pass as amended. That's what he said.
I believe what I said was that I move Senate Bill 329, and I'd like to offer an amendment.
Okay, is that making any clearer? Yes.
But that's what the House Clerk said the proper motion would be.
Representative Davis.
Gilman.
Gilman.
But after we approve the amendment, we haven't approved the amendment yet. No, we're approving ought to pass the bill with an amendment, and we have not.
It was withdrawn. Yes.
Just for the record, I have Representative Tripp withdrawing his earlier motion of ought to pass, and a new motion of the adoption of the amendment moved by Representative Tripp and seconded by Representative Piemonte.
Is there any further discussion on that based on what you just heard and what you heard from the clerk? Okay, we're going to take a vote. So we're going to take a vote now on the amendment.
Mr. Chair, can you please state the amendment number, and that way we're all on the same page? Thank you.
The clerk will do that for us.
Okay, this is Senate Bill 329, adoption of the amendment. The amendment number is 2022-182-8H, 1828 H. Henry.
Okay, so now what we have before us now is the amendment to approve or disapprove, and then we'll take up. Well, then we'll see what the next thing is. Some of you who don't like this amendment, I encourage you to vote against it. And if the amendment fails, then another motion can be made for a different amendment.
Before we take the vote, another clarification, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So, aren't there opportunity to have more than one amendment at the exec session? Whether this passes or not, if this amendment passes, can we still offer another amendment which would change the amendment, which the second amendment would prevail? Isn't that the procedure? Just clarifying. Okay.
Okay, so this issue we're at right now is to adopt the amendment as proposed or not. So I need you to vote yes or no on that, and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Vice Chairman Piemonte,
Yes.
clerk votes yes. Representative Tripp,
Yes.
Representative Guthrie, Representative LaSalle,
Yes.
Representative Murner,
Yes.
Representative Melvin,
Yes.
Representative Moffett,
Yes.
Representative Power,
Yes.
Representative Majori,
No.
Representative Gilman,
No.
Representative Stavis,
No.
Representative Magaputi,
No.
Representative Van,
No.
Representative Klee,
No.
Representative Gallagher,
No.
Representative Rung,
No.
Chairman Dolan.
Yes.
Motion passes 10-8.
Yes.
May I make a motion?
No, I want to recognize Representative Tripp first. For a motion. What's your objection?
You just said in your explanation, in response to Representative Mangiaputi, that we could make a motion to offer another amendment and vote on that amendment. You are now going back on what you just said.
I said if the motion failed, then
No,
an
that's
alternate
not what you said.
motion can be made.
That is not what you said.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Can I clarify my question? I am absolutely sure in how I asked the question, and you did say whether it prevails or not, we could offer a second amendment at the committee level, and that could change the motion of this amendment, whether it prevailed or not. Now you are not allowing the other member to offer an amendment that I take a big objection to, Mr. Chair. You went back on your word. I came here to do my due diligence, and not having that opportunity to do my duty is unacceptable. I am very frustrated at this point, and I feel very cheated in terms of not being able to provide my duty, my service. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, if I led anyone to believe that we could have two amendments at the same time on the floor, then I misspoke. and
No,
I
we
didn't
never,
mean-
no, we did not think that, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
No, what you said was we could take up amendments in order. I repeated that back to you, and that was the clarification. We take up one amendment, and then we can take up another amendment if we choose to. I would like to make a motion to adopt Representative Rung's amendment, which we can do because we have disposed of the First Amendment. So the bill now stands amended with Representative Piemonte's amendment. I would like to offer Representative Rung's amendment, which will change the bill again.
Okay, Representative Stavis, Gilman, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, I am unclear on the process of Representative Van offering to make a motion and you overriding it by saying you have a motion from Mr. Tripp, who had not made a motion yet.
I did. I'm going to take a recess 5 minutes, and we'll continue at 11:12.
I do think that's the right thing to do.
And we're still waiting for Diane.
Okay, so we'll take Ron's amendment. What's the number on the amendment?
No, not that.
Huh? You're gonna take Ron's amendment,
Van has it.
but she's talking about Ron.
Oh, okay, we'll see where that goes.
Okay. You take Ron's amendment. I can find it.
Okay, let's get started again.
Tell me I'm wrong. Ron's amendment.
Just as a point of clarification, when I recognized Representative Mann, it was incumbent upon me to listen to her amendment, and I didn't do that, so I apologize for that. So Representative Van, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. I would like to move adoption of Amendment 2022-1757H to SB 2329, and I'd like to speak to my motion.
Yes, please go ahead.
This amendment will tidy up the bill and add make the changes that were requested by the original sponsor of the bill and improve the representation on this study committee to look at our housing issues, which are desperate. I will be voting in favor of the amendment, and I ask that other people join me.
Thank you. Is there a?
I
Was
will
that-
second that
There you go. That's
motion.
what I was looking for.
And can I speak to
Your second?
my second? And I thank you, Mr. Chair, for clarifying your process and your, how do I put it? I want to put it in a right light to correct your mistake or acknowledging. And I was ready to explode before that. I was ready to walk out if my service was not respected in this chamber. And thank you for bringing some faith and some
I hope you feel
respect.
better now. You feel better now?
And I would, yes, and to follow the process and not give misinformation and misguided process. That was where I was very
To the
frustrated.
committee, I made a mistake, and I apologize for that. And we're going to go forward at this point now. I believe.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
believe
Chair.
I have good direction at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded. Yes, you have a comment?
Yes, just one comment. This amendment is very much as the original bill was, just clarifying who sits on the study committee. And I just wanted to let the committee know that when we originally heard the bill, there were 38 in support on the electronic submission and 2 opposed. And I think that makes a difference.
Thank you. We're going to take a vote on the most recent amendment you just heard. So I'll ask the clerk to take the roll.
Okay, this is the adoption of Amendment 2022-1757 H. Henry. Vice Chairman Piemonte.
No.
Clerk votes no. Representative Tripp.
No.
Representative Guthrie. Representative Lascelles.
No.
Representative Murner.
No.
Representative Melvin.
No.
Representative Moffett.
No.
Representative Power.
No.
Representative Majori.
Yes.
Representative Gilman.
Yes.
Representative Stavis.
Yes.
Representative Megapudi.
Yes.
Representative Van.
Yes.
Representative Klee.
Yes.
Representative Gallagher.
Yes.
Representative Rung.
Yes.
Chairman Dolan.
No.
Motion fails 10-8.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Representative Piemonte, do you have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion not to pass as amended on Senate Bill 329.
Being,
Second.
no, yes,
I'll second that motion.
thank you. Will clerk call the roll, please?
Ought to pass as amended, SB 329, 2022-182, 8H. Vice Chairman Piemonte.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Tripp?
Yes.
Representative Guthrie? Representative LaSalle's?
Yes.
Representative Murner?
Yes.
Representative Melvin?
Yes.
Representative Moffett?
Yes.
Representative Power?
Yes.
Representative Majori?
No.
Representative Gilman?
No.
Representative Stavis?
No.
Representative Magaputi?
No.
Representative Van?
No.
Representative Klee?
No.
Representative Gallagher?
No.
Representative Rung?
No.
Chairman Dolan?
Yes.
Motion passes 10-8.
Our executive session on SB 329 is now closed. And let me take some privilege here to the committee to tell you that I am always trying to do the right thing. Sometimes I get it wrong, and when I do that, I usually ask for clarification. We had the clerk in here a little while ago. He's our expert with procedures, and this was a procedural mistake that I made, and I apologize to Representative Van that I made that mistake. Hopefully I won't make it again, but there's no telling I might.
Apology accepted, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Representative Stavis.
Mr. Chair, do you intend to ask for a minority report?
Yes.
As I believe would be proper.
Yes. Would you like to write the minority report?
I very much would.
This might be a joint report, Mr. Chairman. There might be
Okay.
multiple authors.
All right.
Yeah, who's gonna be? So that is,
Our next piece of business is to take up Senate Bill 334 local, which establishes a committee to study property blight in New Hampshire cities and towns. Representative Lascelles, do you have a motion to make?
Yes, I'd like to move ought to pass on this bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion?
Or could you repeat the number for me? I didn't quite catch it.
The number of the bill, of the yeah. Senate Bill 334. Senate Bill 334. Representative Lascelles, do you intend to offer a motion to? What? No, you intend to offer a motion for amendment? Okay. We don't have an amendment. All right, so.
no, we have ought to pass.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, let's take the roll.
SB 334 ought to pass. Vice Chairman Piemonte?
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Tripp?
Yes.
Representative Guthrie? Representative LaSalle's?
Yes.
Representative Murner?
Yes.
Representative Melvin?
Yes.
Representative Moffett?
Yes.
Representative Power?
Yes.
Representative Majori?
Yes.
Representative Gilman?
Yes.
Representative Stavis?
Yes.
Representative Magaputi?
Yes.
Representative Van?
Yes.
Representative Klee?
Yes.
Representative Gallagher?
Yes.
Representative Rung?
Yes.
And Chairman Dolan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Without objection, I'll attempt to put this on the consent. Yes.
Okay, so take a break.
All right, we're going to take a break. We have one more document to receive from OLS that it's not here yet, so we need to take a break to get it, and then I'll give you a chance to read through it before we take any action on it. So I will, I'm going to ask that you check back in at 11:40, and then we'll see where we are. No, we just need to. And that's it. We should have multiple. We can have multiple. Yes, but. Okay, we're gonna now open the executive session on Senate Bill 400.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion
what's your motion?
that we adopt Amendment 2022-1848H.
Second.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
just to clarify, are we going to follow a process of couple of amendments or just one amendment and you're gonna make the call on?
As of right now, I learned my lesson last time I stepped over Representative Van. We're gonna do one amendment.
That's something, a mistake you don't make twice.
Right.
Just walk over to Representative Band.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll keep my cool.
All right.
At least. We have it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is any further discussion? Yes, Representative Rung?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just with a cursory look of the amendment, am I to understand that now we're taking another housing bill and we're turning this one into a school district budget cap bill?
No, I don't
Yes.
believe that's the intention.
That's the result.
Well, I'm looking at on page 6 of the amendment 1848H on line 24. It introduces a new section, municipal budget law, school district budget caps, that titles on line 22. So the original bill had to do with training and procedures for zoning and planning boards and relative to financial investments and incentives for affordable housing development. So where we are dealing with a crisis in this state on affordable housing development, we're now taking that bill and adding language in pertaining to school district budget caps. So I just want to understand from the amendment sponsor why he felt that SB 400 needed to address school district budget caps.
Well, I can say that when we do look at amendments, oftentimes items are added or subtracted. And in this case, you found an item that was added. So, yeah.
Thank you. I am really distressed by some of the changes in this amendment. Particularly, I am astonished that we are changing the workforce housing rules so that they are not required to be available any place not already served by both water and sewer systems owned or operated by a political subdivision, public utility, or other public water and sewer utility. So what that means is that if a developer of workforce housing is willing to extend water and sewer, this would they would allow the town to say, no, we don't want you to do that. And I think that's a bad plan. I'm also distressed by the fact that we've got all this language in here about public health officers. And I'm not at all, I understand that we can put anything in any bill that we want, but I just think this is a bad plan to stick all this stuff in about school district tax caps, public health officers, and then this whole business about telling towns, this whole business about water and sewer extensions. I just think this is a terrible idea and we should not support it.
Yes, Representative Davis. Representative Gilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have to echo Representative Van's point. And I will say that the original bill was supported between the electronic filing, emails, and the amounts of paper. 210 in support to 30 opposed, and I think we ought to listen to the will of the people that we are representing. I think the public health officer changes and the budget cap changes are not what was intended by this bill, and removing the housing champion aspect of the bill to encourage towns to do their due diligence in providing workforce housing is a shame. Thank you.
Representative Davis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to also echo what my colleagues have just said, and I'd like to add that we have cropping up here again a bill that passed on the House floor limiting municipalities in their powers to promulgate bylaws and regulations, and limiting them to not look out for the well-being of their citizens. That language is struck from the ability of municipalities to govern on behalf of their citizens. The only thing they're allowed to do now is to preserve their property. Property, Mr. Chair, that most citizens in New Hampshire cannot obtain because it is too damn expensive. And why we are turning these bills that will address this urgent crisis that so many people are facing, so many businesses are facing in our state, is beyond my comprehension.
Thank you. Yes, Representative Mangiapudi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I echo the sentiments of my colleagues who spoke before me, and if I look at the original bill, it is a bipartisan bill with the intent of looking at the housing crisis and building housing. And housing is just not a dwelling, physical dwelling. It is where it gives shelter to people who live and work and provide the economic driving force of our state. We are telling those people, we don't care. All we care about is the physical building, and we have control over it. And I can tell you, my blood pressure is going up and my blood sugar is shooting up, but just to show that this is another Christmas tree bill, adding everything to get another second bite, third bite at the apple. Health officers, tax, school budget tax cap. What are we trying to tell? And how do I even support this to bring and tell my constituents that I have voiced their concerns? Like my colleague, Representative Gilman, pointed out, I have received so many emails about how important this is. And to just negate that and come sit here because I have the power to vote and do what I wish to do, this is very unsettling. I cannot support this amendment.
Representative Mangiapudi? I'm sorry, Representative Majori?
It's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Page 6, lines 31 and 32, the annual increase for inflation shall be either be a fixed percentage, including zero, or an inflation index published by the BLS. It says an inflation index. It doesn't say which inflation index. Can somebody please explain which inflation index? Is that for the previous year?
Can you
For
take
the
me
previous,
back to the page and line?
page 6, lines 31 and 32. And again, an inflation index. An means any. So you could pick 1932 for an inflation index. You could pick 2021. And it gives the discretion to any school district to pick the one that they want to use. I, as a representative to my budget committee, will be suggesting that they pick the lowest inflation index that they can, or the highest one, rather, that they can find. Thank you.
Yes, Representative Power?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To answer the representative's question, that is absolutely right. It is an inflation index published, and it would be up to the discretion of the school district and the individuals putting the article on the warrant. So there is complete flexibility in that.
Representative Gilman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have also heard that there are objections to the original bill because of the incentives of the housing champion towns getting an extra chance at money from the state. And I just wanted to let people understand about the Certified Local Government Program. which a town has to prove their interest in preserving history. They have to have a historic or heritage commission. They have to provide examples of their minutes and bylaws and et cetera. And so communities that establish themselves as a certified local government have first dibs on some federal money because we have promised to preserve our towns as much as possible. And I think that this is the same, I think this bill in the housing champion communities, that's the same kind of incentive to get the work that we need to get more housing for the people who work in our towns. I see no problem with getting to the head of the line if you do your job. If your town does its job, they should go to the head of the line.
Thank you. Representative Mercer, do you have something to offer? Seeing no further.
One more question, Mr.
Sorry.
Chair.
Go right ahead.
Sorry. So we do have another amendment. So after this, can we present another amendment?
Once we complete our business with this first amendment, then you can.
And would you recognize, Mr. Chair?
If there's an opportunity to do it.
What would that opportunity look like?
A failed amendment that.
Only if it's a failed amendment. No, that's not the procedure.
We have a motion now to pass an amendment. If that motion fails, then you can.
That was not the process. It was for the last one. Remember?
Well, the only reason we did that is because I recognized Representative Van, and I shouldn't have. And I owed her an opportunity to speak and present that amendment because I did that. That was a mistake of the chairman.
Okay, so in that case, I would have really appreciated the fact that, you know, we don't have an opportunity to present because you don't recognize. If it's a predetermined, so do I have to put it in your list to be recognized for an amendment? Is that the process? I'm just trying to understand.
No, we have an amendment on the floor right now. We need to dispose of that. And then if the result is that the amendment fails, then we can make another motion.
That's not the process I was used to. This is my 5th term, and this is my first time on this committee. I'm just trying to figure out how do I make it a motion or.
I can, by the way, I confirmed that with the clerk about an hour ago, and that was including the mistake I made with Representative Van of how I could undo that, and I understand it very clear now.
Okay. Just one more last clarification.
Go ahead.
In the past, you had asked if we had a motion to make, I could jump in and say it, but if you don't recognize, as a chair, you have the prerogative to recognize the predetermined reps. So I feel like my voice is being squelched. So if there is a way that I could bring an amendment, I'll know this is the last one for the day. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions?
Yes, Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, let's face it. The Democrats are in the minority. The Republicans are in the majority. What the majority wants is what the majority is going to get, and that is the lot of the minority. That is a fact of life today in this committee. I would just like to say publicly that the majority seems to want to go against the wishes of the people who elected them. And that puzzles me. It puzzles me because the wishes of the people have been clearly expressed in all of our email accounts, in all of the electronically recorded votes of opposition or support to the various bills that we've been hearing. Why we continue to ignore the voices of the people who sent us here is a mystery to me that I do not think we can solve.
Thank you. We're going to take 2 more, and then we're going to take a vote. So Representative Rung first, and Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to piggyback on what my colleague from Lebanon has said about the wishes of Granite Staters. we're here not to represent our party. We're here to represent the people of New Hampshire. And I just want to review the people that came out in support of Senate Bill 400. The New Hampshire Housing Authority, the New Hampshire Realtors, the Housing Action of New Hampshire, Business and Industry Association. We even had a letter from Governor Sununu supporting this bill. For us to think that we know better than people that are working at the front lines of this housing crisis, I think is quite arrogant. And I would implore my colleagues from across the aisle to vote your conscience, vote your constituents, and put your party aside on this issue, which is a preeminent issue facing our state. Thank you.
Representative Power.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Last speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to point out that the provisions of Senate Bill 400 are in fact contained in this amendment, and it does in fact address affordable housing development. So if this amendment is not supported, then you are not supporting affordable housing development in New Hampshire.
Representative Lascelles, do you have a motion to make? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Clerk, will you take us through the
Yes,
roll
yes.
call?
SB 400 FN, the motion is adopt the amendment 2022-1848 H. Henry. Vice Chairman Diamonte.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Tripp.
Yes.
Representative Guthrie. Representative Lascelles.
Yes.
Representative Myrna.
Yes.
Representative Melvin.
Yes.
Representative Moffett.
Yes.
Representative Power.
Yes.
Representative Majori.
No.
Representative Gilman.
No.
Representative Stavis.
No.
Representative Magaputi.
No.
Representative Van.
No.
Representative Klee.
No.
Representative Gallagher.
No.
Representative Rung.
No.
Chairman Dolan.
Yes.
Motion passes 10-8.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move SB 400 as amended. Ought to pass.
Second.
Who's the second? Oh, Representative Tripp. Okay, Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Are you taking any discussion, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to express, I'm going to pile on because I can, and you've given me the opportunity, so I thank you for that. But we worked for 3 hours, had 3 hours in the public hearing on 400, had an amendment that seemed to work through so much of the issues that we had. We came to an understanding that will help the state of New Hampshire, and I feel this bill has been corrupted in a way that ignores that, and now we're going to have a split vote. You know it's going to be 10-8 on this. We're going to have a debate on the floor, not on the merits of the bill, but the way that the bill was then introduced with its amendment. And that is to hear again what you've heard time and time again from my colleagues, not what we are supposed to be doing in here. I know it's proper. I know that's fine, but this is not what we are supposed to be doing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Manchaputi, last speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me an opportunity to speak my mind.
Of course.
This is appalling to me. This is my 5th term, 10 years. And this by far has been the most choking of partisan, not in the best interest of our granite staters. When people are homeless, people working 2 jobs have no roof over their head because they can't afford a home. On one hand, I work on trying to provide a shelter and a home to people who are homeless, not because of the choice, they have no options at this time. And then we are trying to make some headway into providing some relief. And then we make this big impact of boiling everything over and losing the whole intent of the bill. This is To me, very unconscionable. I cannot support.
Okay, thank you. No, that was our last speaker. Mr. Clerk, would you take a roll?
SB 400 ought to pass as amended. Vice Chairman Piemonte,
Yes.
clerk votes yes. Representative Tripp,
Yes.
Representative Guthrie, Representative LaSalle,
Yes.
Representative Murner,
Yes.
Representative Melvin,
Yes.
Representative Moffett,
Yes.
Representative Power,
Yes.
Representative Majori,
No.
Representative Gilman,
No.
Representative Davis,
No.
Representative Magaputi,
Absolutely no.
Representative Van,
Nope.
Representative Klee,
No.
Representative Gallagher,
No.
Representative Rung,
No.
Chairman Dolan.
Yes.
Motion passes 10-8.
That closes it.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Oh, minority report, any volunteers for the minority?
Dan for the minority.
Given the, Representative Van, given the constraints we have, we're looking to get that minority report in today.
John, I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk, Laurel Davis, with the minority report on the first one, whatever that one, did you get that?
329?
329.
Yes, I did. Thank you.